And so as I started to practice, word got out in my apartment building in Geneva where I was studying, and people would come knock on my door and ask me to help them sleep, to reduce their stress, to deal with their test anxiety. And that's when I realized that actually true peace begins with inner peace. If source is everything, the only way for source to really know itself is to forget its own nature, to travel and move away from itself, only to rediscover itself again. And in a way, it's like our individual soul is like a drop in that ocean that has forgotten its ocean like nature, moves away from itself, only to rediscover itself again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel within. I am delighted to be speaking with Kamini Desai this morning, and we are going to talk about the beauty of Yoga Nidra and other topics. Hi, Kamini, and thank you so much for being here with me today.
Hello, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Kamini, do you want to talk about your background and what led to this?
Sure. So I actually grew up as the daughter of a yoga master. So I got a lot of yogic teachings, including Yoga Nidra as a young child. And then as I grew older, of course, I appreciated the teachings, but around 18, 19, 20, I was like, I want to do my own thing. I'm going to find my way in the world and I'm going to change the world. And went off to study diplomacy and found myself away from the yoga community where I had grown up in and found myself losing my inner balance. And, I had all my yogic practices had pretty much fallen away. I was out in the world doing my thing, but found myself getting quite depressed and disillusioned. Um, I was living alone. I was in Switzerland. I found out that the political process or the peace process is very political, which I now know, but then did not. And just kind of lost my inner compass and found myself getting depressed. And that's really when I started picking up these teachings again that I had received from my father and using them to return to my own inner balance rather than relying on people and situations around me to help me find that balance. Growing up with my dad in the yoga community, of course, I could find the balance with the people around me, but that's not so easy when you're, thousands of miles away in an environment that's not always positive. And so as I started to practice, word got out in my apartment building in Geneva where I was studying, and people would come knock on my door and ask me to help them sleep, to reduce their stress, to deal with their test anxiety. And that's when I realized that actually true peace begins with inner peace. And so this is where I sort of switched gears. I ended up studying psychology, getting a PhD in psychology, because I really saw the connection between what yoga has to bring, the wisdom, ancient wisdom, I think it's yoga psychology has to bring to the world, and also the methodology, the science, and the research behind Western psychology. And so really that's what I've done for the last 35 years is really bring together, I think, the best of what the East has to offer, but combining it with this research, the science, the background, the understanding, and the wording, the vocabulary that psychology has to offer us as well.
I really love that on so many levels because that is so beautiful to combine the ancient wisdom with the psychology. And also, I like the full circle. You had to go on your own hero's journey because I feel like then the teachings that you were raised with, or you come to love it so much more, you know? So that's beautiful. Having gone out in the world, come back and realize it was always there.
What I feel is like what I received as a child was knowledge, it was information, but through the journey, it actually becomes our own. We internalize it, we digest it, and it becomes wisdom. It becomes something that we begin to live from, which, I think difficulty in life and challenges are the thing that can get us there, actually.
That's so beautiful. And it's so true because it's when we are, a lot of us learn through pain and trauma and being broken apart to let the light in. Can you talk about the beauty of Yoga Nidra and how it is related to the four states of awareness?
Absolutely. So, Yoga Nidra, first of all, Nidra means sleep. Yoga means entering a state of oneness, wholeness, completion. And so, Yoga Nidra is entering a state of wholeness or oneness via conscious sleep. So, it is a type of meditation. It's done lying down. So, it removes all the complication of having to sit up and be uncomfortable when you're trying to meditate. So, we remove the body as a distraction, as a discomfort. And what we are doing is we're actually taking you into the same brain waves as sleep. And according to the yogis, we exist in three major states. And if you think about it, as a human being, we're either awake or we're dreaming or we're in deep sleep. So these are the three major states that a human being is always in. We're either awake, we're dreaming, or in deep sleep. But according to the yogis, there is a fourth state. And this fourth state, you could think of it as the backdrop, the space in which the other three states are happening. So when you're awake, there is a part of you that's the same, whether you're awake or whether you're dreaming or whether you're in deep sleep. And that is the fourth. This is what the yogis call turiya. This is in the West, some people call it presence. It is the unchanging, eternal presence that you are, that's always there, no matter what of the three states that you're in. And so, really, there's an ancient scripture called the Mandukya Upanishad that talks about these three states and how we can use Yoga Nidra, or actually, we can use deep sleep as a secret doorway to this fourth state, to this presence, to Turiya. And that's really what Yoga Nidra is. So we're taking you down through the three states, through waking, through dreaming, through sleeping with a little bit of gentle awareness, taking you through this secret doorway at the deep sleep brainwave state to this fourth state of Turiya. And according to the yogis, this is our purpose. This is what we are here to realize, is that we are this presence. We are this unchanging, eternal presence that is there not only through all three states, but it's there no matter what we're going through, whatever thoughts, whatever feelings that we're having. We are like the sky behind all those clouds. And the more that we rest as that sky, the less we're in that turiya, that fourth state. It's not that difficulties don't happen, but it's easier for us as the sky to just let them come, let them be there, and let them go. So this fourth, this the secret of entering the fourth state with Yoga Nidra, yogic sleep, is really a way of freeing ourselves from suffering, freeing ourselves from being so identified with all the clouds of things that are moving through all the time, and more resting as the sky that we are.
That is just beautiful. I heard you talk about the pot analogy as well, and equally beautiful. And I told you before we started recording that I listened to your practice, and perception is everything. When I associated Nidra with sleep, I fell asleep. But you changed that with the intention. And I liked how you led us from doing, stopping the doing to just being.
Absolutely. And the thing is that a lot of us know we have to get to being, we want to get to that peaceful place. We want to be able to even fall asleep. They're all kind of taking us in the same direction of letting go. So I think we all want to get there on some level, but we don't know how. We're so socialized and enculturated to do and be more, perform more, be more productive, get more done. But in the name of doing that, sometimes we get so good at that, our nervous systems, our personality, it doesn't allow us to let go anymore. And we don't know how to do it. And that's why we can't relax, we can't fall asleep, and we can't find that peaceful place, even though intellectually we know it's there. We don't know how to get there.
Yeah. How can we experience that more of the sky, more of being the container, um, in addition to doing the practice? What are some tools that we could use, Kamini?
It's a good question. And I think they do have to work together. So, the idea is like you can't, it's too late to dig a well when the house is on fire. So there is a place for a personal practice, which is basically digging your well before your house is on fire, which means developing, going through a practice like Yoga Nidra that helps you progressively let go. First of physical tensions, then of mental and emotional tensions, to progressively reteach your body how to let go and enter that secret doorway into presence, then gives you a well to draw on when there are these fires going on in your life. So I think that number one is the foundation. It could even be, you can do it when you wake up in the morning just to set your day. You can do it in bed. You don't need more than 20 minutes. Do it in the afternoon when you're tired. Do it at night before you go to sleep. So it doesn't have to take a lot of time, but it's going to help you build a foundation of peace that you can then draw on in your life. So once you've got that settled, the other thing that you can do in Yoga Nidra is create an intention. And think of intention like a code word that's going to remind you of that presence when you need it in life, in particular situations. So it could be something like, for example, one of my tendencies in life is to get impatient. And so my code word, my intention is steady. And I know what that means. So it's like I've planted that in the Yoga Nidra. I've developed that foundation. And then when I'm in life, when I start getting triggered and impatient and a little reactive, I can remind myself steady, and it helps me snap back into that space and live from there. So that combination of planting an intention in Yoga Nidra, anything that you want to create in your life, and then drawing on that same intention in life to keep you on that path is really powerful. And it follows the idea of neuroplasticity. So the idea is, of course, whatever you repeat over and over and over again, that becomes who you are. That's how your nerves that fire together wire together. And so the more that we repeat internally steady, and then we practice being internally steady, the stronger that neural connection becomes, and the easier it is for us to draw on it.
You make it sound so easy, and thank you for um, make for doing that, because that combination, like you said, will be powerful for sure. And I'm going to add that to the intention, like you said, and it sounds so magical.
It helps a lot. And also, what I find for me is it depends on if you're a visual person or verbal, but either imagining that what's going on in your life, just remember that you're the sky. And the more that you can allow like emotions and reactions, it's not like we're trying to suppress them, but these are like kind of like storms that are blowing through. And you don't have to do anything with the storm, but let it pass. Like the sky doesn't do anything about the storm, it just lets it be there for the time that it's there, knowing that it's going to be there and then it's going to go. And so just reminding ourselves sometimes through language can also help. Like right now, what I'm noticing is not I am angry or pissed off, but I'm noticing that I'm angry. I'm noticing reaction moving through. And I know that sounds very new agey, but it does help, or however that works for you. A storm of whatever is moving through. This is the weather pattern that's moving through. I do it with my kids as well sometimes. Like I'll say, so how's the weather today? Or what's your weather pattern right now? So rather than saying, it just helps a person recognize, oh, it's just weather. So that automatically helps create a little bit of distance.
Oh, I like that because that's so practical to talk in their language versus sounding preachy, you know? So I love that. The weather patterns. So in all traditions, you know, they try to explain why we forget that we are that observer source. So why do you think we are forgetting who we are? We come here forgetting who we are.
Yeah. So first of all, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a part of our journey. And according to yogic philosophy, and I just take all this stuff and see if it feels right to me. So I would invite anybody listening to do the same. But for according to yogic philosophy, source is everything. Source includes everything. So it's like the ocean, and from it, all of creation has come from that one ocean, like waves. And if source is everything, the only way for source to really know itself is to forget its own nature, to travel and move away from itself, only to rediscover itself again. And in a way, it's like our individual soul is like a drop in that ocean that has forgotten its ocean like nature, moves away from itself, only to rediscover itself again. And in this way, what's said is like presence, this source gets to rediscover itself, re-know itself over and over and over again. And what's so neat is it's very much in line with this whole idea of quantum, the Big Bang theory and how things move from nothing into something and this ceaseless tide. So it does seem to be some correlation of these ideas.
That's beautifully said. As a child, I have to tell you, I used to be so mad with Source, and I would have these inner conversations and say that I'm being recycled because I rinse, repeat, come back here, and you're elusive, you know? And then as this concept was explained to me, I realized that Source is witty too, like playing this game of hide and seek, hiding inside of us. And like you said, there is nowhere that it doesn't exist, and where to find him. And what does Source have on its side? Time, eternity, right? So from being upset, like you said, it's not a bad thing that we forget and rediscover. It's like if my son is playing a video game and he knows how to win all levels, it becomes boring. But if, you know, so thank you for that reminder. Um, is really nicely said. What are the different levels that you have available on YouTube or wherever if people can come in person as well?
Yeah, so I have two digital ways that you can connect. So one is try a Yoga Nidra on my YouTube channel. Just search my name, Kamini Desai, or I Am Education. And there are lots of Yoga Nidras on there for you to try, including for sleep. There's some short ones, some longer ones. And for most people, it takes about 20 minutes to get down through all the brain waves and to come up feeling really refreshed and restored. So a standard yoga nidra will run anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes. So you can find them on my YouTube channel. And I also have an app which you can access online on your laptop or on your phone, which is really nice because then you can just take it to sleep with you. You don't have to be fiddling with your computer if you don't want to be. And that has, if you subscribe, there's a free element. And then if you subscribe, you can get more yoga nidras so you don't get tired of the same one. So there are yoga nidras that range anywhere from 20 minutes all the way up to 55 minutes. And there's ones on sleep, there's ones on self-love, there's ones on abundance, because we want to make these shifts like with this intention. Very often in the waking state, when we try to make changes, we're trying to make changes from the conscious mind alone. In Yoga Nidra, as we go down through the three states, through waking, dreaming, and deep sleep, we're actually accessing deeper levels of our consciousness. So we're accessing first the conscious mind, then the subconscious mind, and then the unconscious mind, which is where our deepest samskaras, our deepest karma, you could say your deepest patterns, experiences, whether you're aware of them or not, are held at the unconscious level. So when we do a yoga nidra, we have an opportunity not just to recognize the peaceful presence, but to make shifts and sort of rewrite some of that unconscious programming. And so you'll see as you go into the app, there are different yoga nidras that you can choose to achieve kind of different kinds of results, even attract a relationship or help resolve things that are keeping you from bringing in full abundance, or if you're overthinking. So you can choose according to what you like. And very often it's good to choose one that you like, practice for a period of time, because your neural pathways start to get used to it, and just hearing the words will start to take you deeper. And then after a while, you'll feel like, no, I think I'm ready for something else. And that's when it's nice to have that variety to be able to switch it up.
Okay, awesome. Can you talk about karma and samskara and how it's interconnected with the yoga nidra?
Yeah. So, first of all, karma and samskaras are, you think of it like what we call patterns or beliefs or experiences that we have accumulated. Also, programming, things that we've picked up from our parents, from our culture, from our life, much of which is helpful or neutral, but some of which is unhelpful. And that unconscious programming is what we call your samskaras, your core beliefs. And these samskaras lead us to act in certain ways. That's karma. Karma, it means action. Okay. And some of these ways that we act are automatic and unconscious, and we don't realize, we're not aware of the effects that they're creating. So, for example, maybe somebody has a samskara around being pessimistic, and no matter what happens to them, they always bring this pessimistic, negative response to life. And therefore, they keep recreating the same outcome of a negative experience of life. That's karma. Okay. So it's like the pattern within you that keeps making you take the same action and therefore get the same result. That's how samskaras and karma work together. And what Yoga Nidra works with is, what is the personal pattern? If there's a personal pattern that I need to work with and rewrite or shift or let go of, I can do that in those deep states of letting go, where I don't just let go of my thoughts, I let go of these patterns. I can rewrite them. And when you let go of them, you no longer need to take that action. You become more aware of it, like, oh, there's my tendency to think negatively. How do I actually want to be here? So your unconscious and automatic actions start to become more conscious, more deliberate. You're more able to have more choice, more conscious choice about the outcomes that you want to create in your life, and have enough distance between you and your patterns to consciously choose how you want to be. So maybe you don't always choose to be pessimistic. Maybe you choose to be like, well, actually, that could work out well, right? Or I'm open to the possibility that it doesn't always have to be a negative outcome. And thereby we start to change our experience of life.
I love that because what we you defined as the repetitive actions and doing the same thing, it's insanity, right? Doing the same thing and hoping for a different result. So it addresses that as well. So that's beautiful. I love it.
Exactly. And so many of us are struggling to do it with our conscious mind and will alone. And that's great. But there's the thing that yoga tells us is there's more than one way to do that. And that we don't have to make change in the waking state alone. You live in a dream state, you live in a deep sleep state. What if you were able to access those states consciously and make changes from there as well? And that's what Yoga Nidra allows us to do.
Do you want to talk about the this? I heard you talk about the single truth that the yogis were trying to answer the question. Do you want to talk about that, Kamini?
Sure, sure. So the yogis were really just like us. And even though they lived thousands of years ago, there was trauma, there was difficulty, there were challenges, there were wars, all kinds of things that were happening in the world and with our own families and in our own lives. And what the yogis were looking for was, what is the single truth that, if known, would solve everything? So typically, what we do is we look for, what is the thing that's going to solve this one problem, right? But they were looking for, what is the thing that, if I knew it, would not just solve this one problem with this one relationship, but would solve everything, all of my suffering simultaneously. And what the yogis came up with is really what the practice of yoga, yoga nidra, the entire body of Eastern philosophy is all about, solving this single thing. And essentially, the single truth that, if known, would solve everything is that, to recognize that you are the one through whom these things are moving. So if you take a moment to reflect, you might notice that when you're sad, there is a you that was there before you were sad. It's there while you're sad, and it's there when sadness is gone. Therefore, you cannot be that sadness. You are the one who is watching the sadness come and go. You are the one who is aware of it. But what happens, and that is who we really are. But what happens is, it's like something really big comes in, and instead of recognizing, allowing it to just come, to be there and to go, we get caught in it. And that is what the yogis say is the cause of our suffering, that we forget this sky-like presence that we are, and we become identified with the stuff moving through. And so this is the cause of our suffering. Pain we can't get rid of, right? Things are going to happen that we can't get rid of. But how we relate to the pain, how we relate to what's moving through, that we can change. So rather than getting wrapped up in it and identified with it and it becoming me, can I rest in a space where I can be the one who was there before the sadness, be the one who is there while the sadness is there, and be that one when the sadness is gone? The more that I can rest there, the more I am free from suffering. That's the short version.
Wow, that I'm just speechless. It's
Hmm.
so beautifully explained, and just a reminder that yeah, we are the observer, and to not the aware sky, not the clouds and everything moving in. And I always um try to remember, you said words, associate words with it. I tell myself this too shall pass. And it's in times of like anxiety, sadness. It's also in times when I'm having fun, and I know this is short lived as well. But if we remember, we are just observing all these events, that life is good. And we came here to participate and that and be, just have a good time, despite everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And allow ourselves to experience it all. That's the thing.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, because it's beautiful that you said this too shall pass, even the positive. Because typically what we do is, it's so great. And then while it's so great, we become afraid of losing it. But because we're holding on. But the more that I can just let it be here, I can enjoy it fully for what it is, rather than before it's even gone, I'm already mourning its loss. Well, then you can't even enjoy it for what it is. So it's like allowing it to be fully present as it is, without this need to hold on to it. Because as soon as I hold on to it, I have the fear of losing it. Rather than, I'm going to let this be here for as long as it is, I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it, knowing that everything in life will change. And if it didn't change, if things were good all the time, it would really be boring. Imagine your life, even the best, most blissful life, with time, if that it was the same thing day in and day out, that would become a form of pain. That would become painful. So it's actually the variety, it's the changing melody and tunes of life that make it interesting. And yet somehow we're attached to this idea that it's only supposed to be good. But if we really had it, I don't think we'd be that happy, actually. It would actually become painful.
And I think that is such a great point because I feel like that is why we choose to reincarnate and come back. Because while the other side, there is no duality and it sounds perfect, then we come back to have everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and hope that we remember to participate. And like you said, don't hold on to the good times or start to cling to it, knowing that enjoy it.
Enjoy it. And of course, it's natural. Like, that doesn't mean as a human being you shouldn't of course I'm married to my husband. I don't want him to die. And there's part of me that's afraid. But if I let that part take over my life, I won't even get to enjoy him while I'm here. So I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy, have that feeling at all, but watch for that tendency to take over, which we lose the pleasure when it's really here. And along those lines, one thing that I was thinking about is in terms of how to be more at peace in life, is accepting that life has a polarity and that life is revealed in polarity. What goes up goes down, what goes down goes up, and everything is revealed in contrast. So you wouldn't know up without the down. Those two are revealed in opposition or complementary opposition to each other. Breath in follows breath out, and vice versa. So there's this constant flow in life, and the more that we can allow for that flow, the more we're in flow with life. But the more that we choose for one, I only want it to be up and never down. Now when the down comes, it seems like my enemy. So instead of being able to flow with life, I become afraid of the down rather than knowing, okay, now this is here and it's going to change too. As you were saying, this too shall pass.
Yeah, I really like that. And, that's the reminder that change is the only constant in this universe. Kamini, I know that I heard you talk about the yoga body psychology program too. Can you talk a little bit about that? The union of yoga and psychology?
Sure. So, well, now you know where yoga psychology and my interest comes from, really wanting to bring together the East and the West and the best of what both have to offer. And we've been seeing in Western psychology more and more, like with Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps Score, that there really is a place for not just digesting trauma or difficulty at the level of the mind, but recognizing that very often when we cannot digest an experience, when we don't know what to do with it, out of necessity, it gets stored in the body. And this can create anxiety, it can create depression, it can create sleep problems. It can also show up as physical symptoms, back pain, neck pain, headaches, and so on. And so, really, what we do with yoga therapy is we teach people, how do I connect with my body in such a way as not to just release physical tension, but to consciously release the emotional tension that has gotten lodged in the body. And when I learn how to do that, I can really deal with the core of what's causing the symptoms. So not just getting rid of the effects of headaches or stomach pain or whatever it is, but what is the root cause, possibly in part emotional. It's undigested, unintegrated experience I haven't dealt with, that's actually in part or totally driving the physical, mental, emotional symptoms that I might be experiencing.
I like that. Is this a relatively new practice of incorporating yoga with psychology? Because it just seems so beautiful to be woven together.
It is. And it's yoga therapy, but there are different kinds of yoga therapy. So the kind that I teach is more what we're talking about, where it's not just dealing with physical issues, but dealing with the underlying things that may be there as well. So it kind of gives you the benefits of both. It gives you both the physical benefits of yoga, but also the mental and emotional benefits of yoga.
So I went recently attended a yoga class. I'm not the most flexible person to do the physical poses, and the person leading the class talked about um, the trauma, what you said there, and then talked about pain that you have in your lower right body, I think, which I have. And she said it was re- related to pain associated with trauma with with your dad. And while we resolved it later in life, and he has passed on, both my parents have, I did have trauma with my dad, and I did feel, and I left there with some pain in terms of the body movement. So that totally makes sense to me.
So some of it released in the
Yes.
class.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was my first time hearing about that connection, so that resonates as well with me with what you just said there.
Yeah, it's really becoming, it's always been there in yoga, but it's enjoying a revival right now. And what I love about the yoga therapy is that you have somebody right there with you. So, you were able to process that in a larger class, which is fantastic. And that's what a larger class should do. But sometimes having somebody right there at the moment when you want to get out of the pose or escape or distract yourself, somebody to say, okay, let's just come back in there. Let's breathe. Let's hang out with this. Just helps make it a bit safer and a bit more contained sometimes to let it really pass through.
Yeah. Yeah, that is wow. Yeah, like you said, it's been there, but me being a novice at physical yoga, and then attending that class, it was an eye opener for sure,
Mhm.
and I loved it. How is yoga nidra different from guided meditation, Kamini?
So, guided meditation and yoga nidra, both are a style of yoga nidra is a style of meditation. It's going to take you to the same place as meditation does, but for a lot of people, yoga nidra is a little bit more effective because it's quieting the mind by taking you through those same brainwaves asleep. So, most people, when they're just asked to sit and observe their thoughts, that's too much for them. There's just too many thoughts, and that's too hard. But if we were to take you into that same process as sleep using particular techniques like breath, body awareness, and so on, what you'll notice is that just as before you're falling asleep, your thoughts will naturally begin to fragment. They naturally start to quiet down. And what happens is you kind of go into a twilight zone between waking and sleeping, where just like biological sleep at night, you notice you're in that in between zone where your thoughts are there, but they're really far away from you. And it's easy not to engage them. So I would say that yoga nidra and meditation are the same. It's just that yoga nidra is meditation made easy, and it really allows you to get the same kinds of depth and benefit that a meditator of 20 years would be getting. So it gives you those deep, deep benefits much more quickly, even for someone who experiences it for the first time, can have quite a deep meditation experience with yoga nidra.
Absolutely. You know what I really liked at the beginning of your particular practice is you said to lie on your back, get comfortable, but if for any reason that you can't, just get in a comfortable position where you wouldn't move. So I really appreciated that because I had back surgery when I was younger. I stayed on my back, but I was like, wow, I loved the flexibility that you offered.
Nice. And that's really important because, so let's say you have chronic pain or someone has a back issue, or maybe you're pregnant. You really want to find a position where you're removing the body as a distraction. So if you're so distracted by, I have to stay on my back because that's the way you're supposed to do it, you're not going to get into the meditative state. And that's really one big advantage of the Yoga Nidra is that it really allows you to remove the body as a distraction. Like consider normal meditation, which is fantastic. But sometimes we spend so much time thinking about our knees and our back, we can't, we're thinking how much longer. So we're watching the time, we're not watching our thoughts.
That is so true. Like I would be like, take a peek to be like how much more time I have. And this one I was able to stay the course. So I love it. Um, Kamini, what is important to share that we haven't talked about already?
Well, I think if someone really wants to practice, we briefly mentioned times of day. So, a good time of day, and what I say to people, because we have so much to do, we have so many things and so many things that are good for us, and we think, I have no more time. So, what I would say is replace dead time anyway. So, for example, we come home and we want to chill out, we're tired. And so we pick up the phone and we start scrolling. And before we know it, half an hour is over, an hour is done. And instead, if we were to replace that with come home, do a yoga nidra, it's such a great time. And what it does is it helps you discharge the negativity, the energy, the busyness of the day, restore yourself so you're fully there for your family, your kids, yourself. You can really enjoy and be present for your family, for yourself in the evening time. So, when you come home or in the afternoon is a really great time to rejuvenate your energy, to restore your clarity. At night, before you go to sleep, is a really good time. You can use it to help you get to sleep. That's absolutely fine. But for some people, doing it at night actually gives them so much energy, they can't fall asleep. So, in that case, you want to practice in the morning or afternoon. And then the morning can also be nice. So, what you could do, for example, is just instead of hitting the snooze button 5 times, just wake up the first time, continue lying in bed, and do 20 minutes of Yoga Nidra. So, and Yoga Nidra, 45 minutes of Yoga Nidra is said to be as restorative as 3 hours of sleep. This is because it's giving you more theta delta brainwave activity, which is highly restorative. And so you're still getting sleep while you're doing a yoga nidra. So if you do it in the morning, you're kind of getting 2 for 1. So that would be something to consider as well.
Yeah, I like that. I'm genetically an early riser. No, not by choice. It's just my dad was like that and I'm like that. So I like to incorporate that in the morning. And earlier you said something about like a pick me upper. And then I was like, I'll do this, set an alarm for 3 o'clock and that generally helped me to recharge my day. So so I think that's gonna be the two times I choose, makes sense for me to do it.
Absolutely. And the afternoon is so great for a couple reasons. Yoga Nidra actually is shown to help balance out your blood sugar.
Mhm.
So, and that's usually when we're dipping is in the afternoon when we get tired, we
Exactly.
want coffee, chocolate, all that stuff. Second is it restores the dopamine in your brain, which restores your focus, your clarity. After you come out of a nidra, first you'll be like a little bit, coming out of it. And then you'll be like, wow, my brain is back on full power. So it's going to restore that. So that's a great for an afternoon pick me up. It's a fantastic choice. That's when I practice is usually in the afternoon.
Yeah, because I was thinking about doing it before I sleep, and then I realized when you said that, because I tend to be up, um, and I was like, I may just recharge myself, and so let's do the 3 o'clock instead. The chocolate time, the coffee time. Let me replace that with yoga nidra, and see
Absolutely.
what happens.
And one thing I would say is that it doesn't mean you can't do seated meditation because they actually work really well. So people sometimes feel like, well, now I have to pick, do both. So what I do is I do my yoga nidra, and then afterwards you will feel that it's so easy for you to sit in seated meditation. You'll want to sit in seated meditation. So that's a beautiful combination. And if you struggle with doing classic seated meditation, yoga nidra is going to be a great way in for you.
Wow. That's, yeah, thanks for that because why not allow ourselves, give ourselves permission to have that time with ourselves, me time, and to practice yoga nidra and the seated meditation as well. So yeah,
Absolutely. And that's it. I love how you said it's me time. But it's not just me with my personality. It's me with this eternal presence that you are, that it's me time with you, communing with your soul time. And you get the benefits of relaxation, you get the benefits of meditation, you get the restoration, your brain recharge. You're doing a lot of things for yourself in one short practice. That's easy. That's actually pleasurable.
yeah, I like that you're the reminder that it's yes, me time, but not only with the personality, but with source. So yeah, uh, me time, extra, to the next level. So yeah, beautiful comedy. Um, what brings you joy and laughter these days, comedy?
Hmm. Well, I think it's right now it's new friendships and kind of opening myself up. I feel like after COVID, I just got into the habit of sort of being in my little shell and sort of being shut down somehow. And even though I insisted that that had not happened, it kind of did. And I feel like recently, and maybe with a little bit more effort and a little bit more awareness, to reach out to people, to make those little connections. And whether it's a friendship or just taking the time to maybe help somebody who needs help, to take a time to say hello to somebody who I don't know, to have even just a moment of eye contact, kind of opening myself up to the larger world in an open and happy and giving way gives back to me. And that's been bringing me a lot of joy.
That's beautiful. What would you tell young comedy um, who is about to embark on this beautiful journey of life?
Mm. Uh, don't spend too much energy worrying about what you think is wrong with you. It's a black hole, and it's not moving us in the direction that we want to move. And I feel like I see it with my kids. I saw it with myself, how it's just so easy to get into that spiral of what we think is wrong. And it's more about, not in an egotistical way, but recognizing what our gifts are. And every time we notice ourselves going down the negative path of this kind of negative self talk spiral, is to have some way of reminding us who we are. Not again, not in an egotistical way, but like, no, you're meant to do this. No, this is your gift. This is who you were meant to be. And sometimes, in the name of being modest, I think we don't allow ourselves to do that. Um, and so we tend to default back to the negative. And it took me a long time to get out of that habit. And so, if I were to say that to my younger self, got to knock that off. The sooner,
um,
the better.
I like that. What final message or blessing do you have for those listening, comedy?
Hmm. Peace is closer than you think, and happiness is closer than you think. And you don't have to rely on anybody outside of you to find it. It's all inside of you.
Beautiful. How can people reach you
Just search
and
me
your
on
work?
Google. Yeah, Kamini Desai. I have two apps. One is called I Am Being. So you can find that on your app store, Google, Android. You find me on YouTube, look under my name. And my website is also my name, kaminidesai.com.
Um, is there anything else that you would like to share before we that is worth mentioning?
No, I would just say, look, there's lots of benefits to practicing Yoga Nidra, but you're not going to know what they are until you do it. So I would say find a Yoga Nidra, get on YouTube, try one. At least you'll know what it is, and then you can go from there.
Thank you so much for being here with me today, Kamini, and thank you for everything that you're doing to help humanity. And I hope everyone enjoyed this as much as I did.